So,
Yeah.
can you hear me on Zoom? Thank you. No one's paying attention besides you guys. Star students, there they are. Hello. Good morning. How is everybody? Good. Welcome. Good to see you all this morning. I'm super excited about this. As you know, kind of a real estate information geek, which I find fun. But the presentation that we have today from Carrie Steinmetz and Kelly Woodwick from Fidelity is one of my favorites, and I'll get to them in just a minute. But I think that there's a huge value when you can know exactly how construction takes place, where the trends are, what's going on. That's the nuts and bolts and the building blocks of our business. So when clients are trying to differentiate between agents, and there's lots of them, knowing that product is super beneficial. So excited to get into that today. We'll start with gratitudes as we always do. Got one or two or three people that has something they're grateful for, personal, professional, something they're happy about. Coach.
Family, whether it's work family or family. We just found out we're going to have our 8th grandbaby. Family is just so awesome. Tell them you love them, give them hugs, spread the love.
I love that. Those of you who've been around a while, I swear Coach's new grandbaby every week. His quiver is full of lovely,
plenty of room.
Plenty than ever enough. So that's awesome. Congratulations. Who else? Robin.
We just got 2 little kittens.
Oh.
They're so adorable. They're 9 weeks old, and Ollie and Ozzy.
Oh, those are perfect kitten names. I love that. One more. Something you're grateful for, something you're looking forward to this year, something personal, professional that you feel good about. Robbie, how about you? I'm calling you. Robbie, our wonderful photographer, is here today.
Just been doing so many listings and getting a bunch of stuff out. So that's been really great. So we've been doing, I'm new, but like double the listings we're usually shooting. So, and it seems like we're keeping up with it. So that's been great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Blessed with work. I love that. Okay. Well, let's get into opportunities and needs. If you have a property coming to market, coming soon, something on the market that needs a little more attention, or a buyer looking for something specific, let me know. I'm going to go to Robbie D first because I know he has a big broker's open right after this, and I'm going to try to sneak over myself. Robbie, what do you got?
Yeah, so Ribera Lane, 21880, Ribera Lane in West Lynn. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 3886 square feet. Kind of a quirky home, but for the location, it definitely works. It's priced at 1.7. Zillow just raised their price to 1.6 something, so that was a lot better than 1.3 last year. I don't know how it went up $300,000 in this market.
But I know you're marketing, Rob.
Yeah, it's all marketing. So if anybody would like to get out there, we'll have some treats and a drawing, and I'd love for you guys to share your price opinions.
Awesome. All right, Ribera Lane, open 11 to 1. Great.
I got one coming on tomorrow in Westridge, right over here in Lake Oswego. 18107 Westminster Drive. It backs to Westridge Elementary, the park part of it, not the school part of it. So that park goes all the way back. It's flag lot, 44 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, big house. And I think we've got it priced right at 1.199. And it's in great, A+ condition, ready to go. Beautiful backyard, absolutely stunning, level, very private home. So we shall see, but that goes on tomorrow.
Awesome. Tomorrow, coming soon. Who else? Buyers or sellers? Shane.
Yeah, I've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Forest Grove, right on 17th Street, near the cool park in Forest Grove, going at $595. It's kind of a modern look, but it's a really nice place. So excited that's going on the market Thursday.
Awesome. Coming Thursday. Ben.
We're looking for another fixer for another project, like we're trying to buy something soon. So anything that's like your sellers don't want to do some work to get on the market, or it's dirty or whatever, let me know.
What's the price range?
I mean, really anything
He's like 6'5".
Probably anything under 800.
Right.
Yeah, I have one.
I think it every time.
Casey, you want to mute? I am 6'5", though, that is true. Amy,
Hi, everybody. I have two pocket listings. One is in Canby on the Willamette Country Club. It's a beautiful spot. My clients just bought it and then found their dream home somewhere else. So they're super motivated to move that. We will go to the market if we need to, but if you have anyone looking on the Country Club in Canby, then give me a call. They're motivated. Also, I've got another pocket listing in West Lynn. These sellers are reluctant to go on the market without identifying their second home, but they Renaissance Home, Trillium School District, great house, right around $1 million.
terrific. We heard back from our buyer today, Amy, yet?
Not yet.
My word, okay. Who else?
I have a new listing that just went live 5 minutes ago. 2 acres in Camas. There's a manufactured home on it right now that's rented. There's an ADU that's also rented, set up perfectly where you can split it if you want to build your big $5 million house in the back, sell off the first half. So just live today is 7:15.
You want to talk about the Washougal one that they'd really like to sell?
Yes, I Washougal one. God bless these people. So we've been on the market for 105 days, 4 beds, 3 baths, 3,051 square feet. We've done multiple price adjustments and we're down to 785 now. You have a buyer, they are so highly motivated. So absolutely open to negotiating.
Is there any improvement to be done there? I mean, as far as, no, it's pretty dialed in.
2013, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths up, a huge bedroom, full bath, big living area downstairs. Views of Mount Hood. It's a gorgeous home.
Okay. So if you have any Clark County buyers that want to stretch up to that and make an offer, it sounds like they're ready to go.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Robbie D.
Buyer need, Lake Oswego or Multnomah Village area up to 8.25. At least probably 15 to 1700 square feet, preferably mid-century type home, something kind of fun and funky. Yeah, preferably off market because there's nothing on the market. Actually, I was just sent one place on another agent.
Okay, so you've seen everything on. Anyone else? Cinda.
I'm looking for land with a nice farmhouse, 20 acres plus, minimum of 20 acres.
Whereabouts?
Newburgh, Sherwood, just southwest. Budget is up to 4
million. Okay, 4 million, farmhouse, 20 acres plus. Good one if you have something coming. Want to sell the farm, Ed? Okay. Audrey.
I have one coming in Corbett that's like between 4 and 5 acres. Has a really nice full barn shop that could very easily be set up for horses with decent pasture land, very flat. House is a wreck. Going to be priced very aggressively, like 2 bedrooms, 1 bath right now, but has an upstairs that could be converted pretty easily next week.
Okay. Price, did I miss the price?
We haven't nailed it down yet, but
Range?
yeah, under 4.
Okay.
In Corbett.
Good opportunity there.
Yeah.
That reminds me of, I've got one on Mill Street in Portland. Basically it's a unique situation where it's a daycare person who owns it and runs a daycare out of there. It's supported by government vouchers for all the kids. So it's a very, very stable source of income, but she wants to sell the property and she's going to rent it for 10 or 20 years. Basically, if you have an investor who wants a good rate of return and for like the greatest tenant of all time, she would even up the rent to make the cap rate appealing. So if you have any investor clients that are just looking based on cap rate, just want an investment property, let me know. That's kind of a unique one because I can't show it and no owner occupant. So it's definitely investor only. It's by being a nice, clean house. Anyone else? Okay. I see a new face, Andrea Hughes, and I have been going back and forth for, 24, I've been in this 24 years. She's got a couple. Robbie D, how many years you got in there? I think we're the three grizzled vets in there.
Over 32, man.
Over 30. So Andrea comes to us with a great background in new construction as well as resale. And we've been working together for a long time. So I'm super excited to have her here. Do you want to give a fun fact, stand up and say something about yourself, Andrea?
Well, I have 4 daughters, 3 grandchildren, 4 son-in-laws that I love almost more than my daughters. I have a year-old Bernese Mountain Dog that is 100 pounds right now. And so that has been my time, but I've spent the last 16 years doing new construction, development, land acquisition, and all those types of things. And I was principal broker for Icon Construction for 17 years. So it was time for me to step down and let those kids take on the business with their father. And I decided it's time for a change for me. So here I am, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Excited to have you here. But I mean, I don't know how many thousands of units Andrea oversaw. So if you have any new construction kind of thoughts, probably seen the most new construction across her desk of anyone in the metro. So great resource. Excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Speaking of, what a good lead into new construction. Kelly, you want to come up and talk about what's going on here? And
Well, we have
Carrie's-
Carrie Steinmetz to talk about
Yeah.
what's going on here. So we have Carrie Steinmetz here. We're going to talk about 2025 new construction trends. Carrie goes to the New Builders Conference every year in Las Vegas. I think he attends the conference, right?
Maybe a quarter of it.
But Carrie's a good person to connect to. If you've ever come across a lot, their land, a tear down, anything like that, still a lot of people say that are looking for that. And he's a great resource. With that, Mr. Steinmetz, I'll let you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me today. Need a little back advice here. So the way this kind of came about is Kelly says I go to the International Builder Show every year. So probably about 10 years ago, every year whenever I got back, I had lots and lots of questions. What did you see there? What's going on and stuff like that. So I don't know, it was maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, we decided to get into a presentation. So when I get back, all the questions that I get kind of are just wrapped up in this. So it is a show with, well, it has about 100,000 people there this year. So there's lots of classes that they put on there. There's lots of products that are out on the floor. This is just kind of a compilation of some of the things that stood out and grabbed me. I will say I've seen many trends down there. Some of them ended up hitting here in Portland and some of them don't. So most of the trends in the new construction area in the United States either come out of California or Florida primarily. So some of the things that they're doing, like I said, don't really catch on here. And then sometimes we have some other trends. So let's just go ahead and get started. I'll tell you what I saw down there. So as far as they do have a kind of a sales corner that primarily just works with people that deal in new construction. And some of the highlights that I got out of there was lots of chat bots. If you're not familiar with these are those little pop-ups that come up on a website that want to kind of interact with you and ask you some questions. So these have really been expanded where if your buyer comes on the website, you can have AI basically program in a lot of questions with them. And a lot of them now are actually connecting to your schedule. So the buyer can actually schedule an appointment with you without ever having to talk to you. And you'll know exactly what they're looking for, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, all that kind of stuff. The computer will go through a series of questions with them. And then the translation buds were really hot this year. So they look like this. And they're just little earbuds that you put in your ear. So a lot of the sales brokers that work in a new home construction, when they have somebody that comes in that English is not their native language, you can just put these in and whatever language they're speaking to you, it will convert in your ear back to English. So you know what they're asking you about.
What are those costs, Carrie?
I didn't actually see a price on that, but one of the things they were really talking about was the technology is really there now. So you don't get caught up in not understanding what the person is. Great question. I don't know what they cost though. And then the other thing that they stressed very much this year is in 2025, overwhelmingly the data is indicating that your buyer is going to be a childless couple. It's either going to be a young childless couple that actually doesn't have any children, or an older childless couple who may not have children living at home anymore. And the reason why they're saying this is most people that are have kids are kind of settled right now, and specifically what's going on with the rates and stuff like that. People that are kind of shopping for family homes or like I said, have a lot of children and stuff like that. Those people are overwhelmingly kind of staying put right now. And the people that are really out looking are either the young family that's buying their first home or the older couple that is looking to downsize and stuff like that. So like I said, not saying every buyer will, but overwhelmingly your buyer for 2025 should be a childless couple. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that's going to kind of change the new construction market here. So then some of the main ideas that I pulled out of there from going through the whole show, and I always try to kind of highlight 5 thoughts that I'm like, this seems to be a recurring theme. So lots of people are looking for that clutter-free perfection in their home. They want you to walk in their home and basically it looks like a house, beautiful setup where there's no clutter. And we'll talk about how builders are kind of trying to address that. Transitional was a big word this year. So when we're talking about transitional housing, all we're really talking about is more traditional styles that have been updated and modern. And I've got a couple of examples there. So there was no really overwhelming, like the modern farmhouse has definitely been moving out of style and stuff like that. There really wasn't one, I guess, that kind of came to the top, other than it's more of a traditional home brought up in kind of modern touches. Wellness has continued to be one of the top categories there. This all came out of COVID. I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the things that people are putting in their house for the wellness movement. But people really want to come home from work, have that kind of calm, serene surrounding, and integrate wellness. This one's nothing new. That outdoor, indoor blurred line where you just have really large outdoor spaces or outdoor spaces that almost it's very difficult to determine whether you're inside the house or outside the house. And then this year, for the first time, they talked about not being trendy. So several of the builders that were there said one of the things that they're starting to do in 2025 is before they actually build the home, they look through the design and everything that's going into the brand new home, and they try to ask themselves, will all of these choices be relevant 10 years from now? So I would say a trend for 2025 is don't be trendy. And then, so right before us at Vegas is the CES show of all the new technology. There's lots of buzz down there that they talk about some of the products that they saw coming out of the convention for the consumer electronics. So robotics was a big one this year. And one of the things I heard a lot of builders talking about was they're not really looking for new technology in robotics. They're trying to take some of these off the shelf robotic things like the vacuum cleaners and stuff like that and figure out how do we actually integrate those into a new home. So if you have one of those robotic vacuum cleaners and you live in an older home, you probably don't have a specific space that goes into. And so how do we integrate those into the home building where these robots will have their own space and stuff like that? Space savings. We're still continuing to have lower square footage. I'll talk a little bit about that. But how do we save more space and provide better storage? This year, there was a lot to talk about assemblies. So one of the things that still has really never been able to catch on is kind of like the pre-assembled manufactured homes that they put together on site. So now we seem to be kind of moving more to these assemblages. And so what we're looking at here, and I've kind of got an example of one of them, is there was a lot of these like prefabricated staircases where you could just buy the staircase, the parts would arrive at the house, and it could be assembled really quickly there. The other thing we saw, it was like a lot of wall assemblies, truss assemblies, basically trying to cut down on the number of people that may be at the job site and being able to assemble some of these things off-site and just quickly install them on the property. And then AI plans. One of the things that we saw there was you could have a two-dimensional set of plans on your desk, and there was an AI scanner there that could scan that house plan, and then it would basically pull it up on your computer screen, and you could walk through the house kind of like the way many of your listings do right now. But it was able to do that just from a set of house plans. And then not surprisingly, with what happened down in LA recently and some of the things that are going on throughout the country, there was a lot of fireproofing and resiliency of homes, and I'll show you some ideas there. And then this year, we've always had trouble incorporating smart home technology into new construction. One of the primary reasons builders shy away from smart home technology is because buyers have different preferences that they need. Some people like an Amazon home, some people like a Google home. So this year Matter came out, and it is a company that was founded by Google, Amazon, all the big tech companies in the smart home space. And it allows these to all integrate and talk to each other. So hopefully that question has been answered and people can start. Hopefully we'll see some more builders install more smart home technologies because this will allow the buyer to choose whatever products that they want. So going through some of the products and kind of walking around the floor. So this was actually an award winner this year for 2025, and it's a smart panel, smart home electrical panel. And what it does is specifically, there's a lot of places across the country that has like surge pricing on electricity. So if you use it, I think PG has something like if you use it between midnight and 5 a.m., it's a much lower price than it is if you're using it during prime hours. So what the smart panel will allow you to do is it will allow you to pre-program it and turn on things throughout your home when the power is less. So like, let's say you have an electric car. It could kick on automatically at midnight when the power usage is lower, charge up the car. Anything else, like if the house started to notice that you have lots of things on, like you have the washer, the dryer, the dishwasher, the HVAC system all on at the same time, you could program this to say, okay, once I get up to a certain power, you should start turning these things off to help me save power. Pretty cool new product. And then these were really cool. These are little prefabricated houses, but they were really popular in the vacation market. So it's just a little prefabricated A-frame that they could drop in as a vacation home. Super popular in areas where it may be hard to get materials or hard to get labor or something like that. You can just buy these and kind of pop them into remote spaces. And then every year I just talk a little bit about what's going on with square footage. So ever since COVID's been over, and before that, we have been traditionally going down in square footage for homes. And that has a lot to do with, we primarily have smaller households right now. So right now we're kind of about between the 2,100 and 2,300 square foot, depending on whether you're looking at average square footage or median square footage. So the prediction there from several of the speakers that spoke this year was that they think we're going to kind of bottom out about 2,000 square feet. So as kind of the years move down and we continue to build smaller and smaller homes, the average home in the U.S. should be about 2,000 square feet. Again, that's primarily because most of them only have about 2 people living in them. So, and then as far as lot size, there was lots of talk this year about attached product. Building more row homes and townhomes. The main reason here is a price driver. It's a way to be able to reduce the price if you have more homes closer together. There were several studies that came out, specifically younger buyers don't really mind as much if they have an attached home. What's really popular, more popular ones is if it's just attached on one side. And we've actually been seeing a lot of this in Portland, where some of this middle housing, we're getting more duplexes and triplexes. And on this front, in the US right now, there's about 19% of our housing stock that's some kind of attached wall type situation, triplex, duplex, condominium and stuff like that. The prediction here was as we move forward, about 25% of the housing stock in the US will ultimately become some kind of attached wall situation. And then on the luxury front, so last year we saw these pre-assemblages of outdoor kitchens. We've kind of gone back and forth. Outdoor kitchens are obviously a very luxurious, high-end amenity for a new house. So last year they were kind of leaving them out, and they had some manufacturers that would basically you could buy parts and come in and put in your own outdoor kitchen. This year they were trying to set themselves apart, and one of the things that they talked a lot about was they were just going to put the built-in grill rather than doing the whole kitchen. This kind of added a little bit of luxury without going too far. So it's kind of a compromise between no outdoor kitchen or a really elaborate outdoor kitchen, like I said, just putting in a basic outdoor grill. And then these siding panels were super popular this year. They come in all different shapes and sizes. And one of the things that they were moving at here was a lot of builders now are using siding as kind of an architectural interest rather than adding in masonry. Again, this is a price driver, a way to keep the price down a little bit, but just using different kinds of siding to provide some kind of architectural interest to the property rather than brick or stone or something like that. And then these steel roofs, really starting to look a lot nicer than some of the more traditional steel roofs. We're seeing these installed a little bit more in fire-prone areas. This was also another award winner, and it is a roof sprinkler system. So when they build the house right on the peak of the roof line, they are able to put these sprinklers in, and they work just like a sprinkler in a home. So when you turn them on, they pop up, and then they start dousing the roof with water. You can turn them on remotely. They also have sensors where if fire's approaching the house, they will automatically go on. So just another kind of peace of mind thing if you live in a fire-prone area. And then there was also a lot of talk about this year. They actually showed us several different videos. And I was surprised. So when you are in a neighborhood that has a lot of wood fences and fire goes through, it's amazing how, especially a lot of these older, drier wood fences, how they just really kind of feed the fuel and make the fires worse. So we saw a lot of different products other than wood. This is actually kind of like a metal type fit fencing system. One of the things they did say in California, what they're seeing a lot is masonry type fencing, and they're just really seeing this as when fire kind of approaches the neighborhood. If you've got like a block wall fence or something like that, it's amazing at how well it does of kind of stopping or slowing down the fire as you go through it. But I think we're going to see some different products come out as far as fencing that are not necessarily combustible. And the other product that there was a lot of buzz about was these newer fences, vents. What they do is when they have heat approaching them and stuff like that, they close automatically. So as we've kind of gone through this, some of the embers will oftentimes blow into the attic or underneath the house and stuff like that. These allow the vents to actually close so those embers don't get in there and start the house on fire from the inside. And then these are just some of the plans that were kind of popular. Like I said, you can see kind of the traditional with kind of some updating here. Here's another plan that was popular. Like I said, just very kind of traditional type like plans, but you can see some of the updates. Like this one's got the clear glass garage door on it. The other thing that we heard a lot about was increasing the window or glazing type budget in new construction. There was actually a builder there that got up and said, I can't remember what part of the country, but he normally spends about $100,000 on a home for windows and doors, and his budget was actually going up to $500,000. So what we're seeing, and I've actually seen this a lot in Portland as well, just these really very large floor to ceiling windows. And as we were talking about that outdoor and indoor, not really being able to tell, this brings a lot of light in. It brings also the outdoors. And one of the things that I would say that I've seen in Portland that is a little bit more cost saving is a lot of these big, large windows don't actually open. So there's no hardware on them and stuff like that. But any way that you can get some more windows in, if you're kind of advising a builder, I would say definitely do it. It's a big selling point. And then this was a new one as well, this smart glass technology. So what this actually has is right next to the window, there's just a little switch, and you hit the button, and the window will either go clear or frosted. So we saw this technology a lot in bathrooms, as well as like front doors and stuff like that. And it has an electric current that runs through it. So when you push the switch, like I said, it'll either go back between being able to see through it or not see through it. Front doors. As we're starting to see some of the ceilings get higher in new construction, we saw a lot more 10-foot front doors. Like I said, we've got a lot more volume and height. Again, that kind of helps me to new construction look a little bit larger. So we saw some bigger, very, very popular thing to kind of put a taller, bigger front door in. And then the garage doors, the glass front end garage doors, super popular this year. This was a new style of garage door. This actually won an award last year. We saw implemented a lot this year as well. It kind of came online originally as a commercial type product. It's called VersaStack. And what it does is instead of kind of having the roller system that comes up over the garage, this garage door actually just goes up and kind of collapses down on itself. So where the trend seems to be coming out in here is specifically as homes get a little bit smaller, they are finding people use their garage for things other than parking their car. Specifically, like I said, if you've got kind of a small square footage. So some people are having like parties out there and kind of using this as an outdoor space and stuff like that. This enables the garage to have a more finished, clean look. It's not an ultimate, extremely inexpensive thing, but like I said, if you use your garage a lot of times to entertain people or something like that outdoors, this is kind of like a nice feature to, like I said, just to make it look a little bit cleaner out there. And then these big sliding doors have been popular for a while. One of the things that they were talking about this year is, so traditionally they've always opened up the whole way. So as you're kind of opening the door, the glass panels flips the whole way. We saw a lot of these, but this year they're actually opening only like about three feet or so and stuff like that, so that it doesn't slide the whole way. I didn't see this one catching on. Like I said, again, as we're kind of doing the indoor-outdoor thing, I would think a lot of people would want their doors to open up completely, but they did have some kind of ones that stopped there. Other thing that we saw lots about was talking about hardware, and I would say that the general gist here was there's a lot of switching out on the hardware. So as you're seeing some of these different door handles, like these little stone accents, those pop off, and you can put wooden ones on there. You can get almost any finish that you want. We saw a lot of like this one has both chrome and kind of the brass. But basically in these hardware situations, you can just really have whatever you want by adding all of these different elements to it and kind of switching them out and finding the perfect match for you. This was some new technology. It's a front door lock system. And what you do is you put your hand over the top of it and it reads the veins in your hand and it will unlock the door. So people found this to be really helpful if you have kind of small children. You don't want them to be using a key or a pad or anything like that. They just swipe their hand in front of it. And then the next one, I normally get the biggest giggles out of that one. So they have this paintball protection. And so what this does is you can install this on your front porch. Somebody comes up on your front porch and you ask them to leave, or you don't want them there, you shoot paintballs at them.
Oh my God.
So really popular. Perfect for your favorite realtors. Super popular with people to get their Amazon packages stolen a lot. So you can if it pops up, you can actually do this remotely as well. Somebody's on your front porch and you get one of theirs. You can shoot them with paintballs. The other thing they said was it makes them really easy to catch because you're telling the police, hey, the guy that's doused in yellow paint is the one that took mine. The other thing, this is another one I wasn't sure that was going to catch on. They were doing a lot of these buyer preference studies, and they had several people come and say that they were looking to have their great room. And again, these are kind of floor plans where you don't necessarily have a family room and living room, just have one great room, where they were looking for the television to not be the main focal point. They were looking for the great room to have more of a conversational type layout. So they kind of came out with these little TV nooks, and all they really were just kind of really bump outs from the great room where you would kind of put the TV and you could still kind of gather around it. But when you went into the great room, the TV was not front and center. It was more of a conversational type furniture situation. And like I said, you didn't necessarily notice the TV, but you could still watch TV in there. Every time I go over to somebody's house, it seems like everybody always gathers around the TV. So I don't know if this one will take off or not. And then that's one of the things I noticed here. Paneling was all the rage this year, and I see that you guys have some paneling over here. So a couple of years ago, it was all about wallpaper. Now it's all about paneling, and it's not obviously the 1970s paneling that a lot of us remember. It's a lot of this really, really nice paneling. And then right whenever I got home about a week after the show, I actually went into this house in Portland, and you can see here, this is a very small home, but they've used a couple of different styles of paneling. One over there where the TV is, and then they've got a different style. So paneling is definitely all the rage this year. And then built-ins were really popular. And where they talk here is, again, if you're going for smaller square footage, you're trying to go for that ultra clean, clutter-free, built-ins can really help with that. And one of the things that we saw was a lot of bigger, larger built-ins, kind of like this, where you couldn't actually see in them. So if you're trying to, like I said, have this clutter-free design, if you have more built-ins, it has a tendency to help you keep your home supposedly a little bit cleaner. I don't think mine would be cleaner no matter what, but maybe I just need more built-ins. And then these Zoom spaces were really popular. These are not really necessarily new. I will say that we are completely getting away from the home office, though. Nobody really wants a home office. And these Zoom spaces were in some very unique places of the home. As a matter of fact, I saw several different house plans where they had two sometimes Zoom spaces. Sometimes they were just kind of in a little bit larger of a hallway. Sometimes they did have some kind of way to kind of shield the noise and stuff like that. But the overwhelming trend this year is when they were putting in these Zoom spaces is everyone wants the back wall finished. So it needs to be finished in. Bookcases were really, really popular. That way, if you've got some kind of collection, you can put it up there. But anytime you put in a little Zoom area for your in your home, really think about finishing the back wall. So when they're on the Zoom, the other people have something to look at. These zone spaces, again, this one's not too much, but this is still continuing to carry over. So what we're seeing kind of with these great rooms, instead of just one very large room, it kind of has zones. So you kind of know where the dining room table needs to sit and where some of the furniture needs to lay out. It's kind of broken into, it's very open, but it's still broken into kind of sections of where people do different functions in the great room. And then, as we were talking about, so if your buyer is going to be a childless couple, this is how they're starting to see this affect house plans. Traditionally, we've all seen normally where you've had the large primary bedroom and bath, and then you've had two other bedrooms, typically very close to the same size, and they will oftentimes share a bathroom, kind of a hall bathroom and stuff like that. We're moving away from that as couples buy more homes. So what they're wanting is they actually want two bedrooms with ensuite bathrooms, and they're not typically the same. One is nicer than the other. So what they're using them is, one of them is the owner suite. That's the nicest one. Typically is a little bit larger, a little bit more luxurious of a bathroom and stuff like that. And then there's a second one that has an ensuite bathroom, and that one's for guests. So like I said, they're kind of wanting, and several people have kind of also called it a junior master. And then when we go into the third bedroom, it's oftentimes a very small space, no ensuite bathroom or anything like that. And these couples are using that small space as kind of like a flex space. So exercise equipment or something like that. So now we have the super nice luxurious suite, kind of like the mid suite or the junior suite, and then just a very small third bedroom. And then building kind of unique lighting. They talk about this a couple different times. So what several builders are doing is they're just taking pendants and arranging them, a multitude of them, in cuts like some kind of custom lighting chandelier type situation. So whatever you want, you can really find that with pendants. I've got another example here where they've taken different sized ones, and just like I said, it enables you to build a lighting fixture that you're not going to see in another home, because it was custom made for this home, and it's just out of a lot of different pendants being put together. And then wall sconces are coming back big. As we kind of talk, it's all about kind of this layered of lighting where you have task lighting, ambient lighting, and all that kind of stuff. And the wall sconce just kind of adds to that. The wall sconces were very popular this year. And then these downlit gables. I've seen a couple of these in Portland as far as lighting of the outside, kind of throws a different view of the look of the outside of the home when they have kind of these downlit eaves. And then I would say overwhelmingly lights were everywhere. So I saw lots and lots of cabinets. Whenever you opened it up, there would be a light that would pop on there. Specifically as you get kind of older buyers and stuff like that, they have oftentimes a hard time seeing what's in things. So this is actually also another application where they had this little light in a drawer. So as you open it up, the lights popped on. So you could kind of see what was way back there in there if you needed that kind of assistance. So. And then the rounded edge was coming back. somebody said, oh, we're bringing it back from the eighties again. You know, trends do kind of come back over time. So we saw lots more arches, but very subtly. So I would say that the house plans and stuff like that didn't take this into, you know, it wasn't overdone. It was very subtle. The other thing we saw was the rounded edge island. It just kind of, instead of having a lot of 90-degree angles in a house, this just kind of softens it with either archways. We also saw some built-ins that were kind of arched as well, and these islands that had a little bit of a curvature on the end of them. And then this was a new product. It's called a Hidaloo. It was invented by a man from Great Britain. And what it allows you to do is basically put a bathroom, very, very little square footage. So I think it was about 40 inches by 18, as long as you have that. It basically what it is it's like a sink vanity. And then as it opens up underneath, you just swing the toilet out. So they believe this is really going to take off. Specifically, this gentleman built it because his father was coming back to stay with him. So if you need an extra bed or bathroom somewhere in the house, and you don't really have anywhere to put it, you might want to take a look at this Hidaloo technology. I was actually he was an engineer by trade. So this actually can hold up to 800 pounds. So it's very tried and true type new idea out there, yes. So, and then I saw lots and lots of bidet toilets. These were very popular this year. Every manufacturer of faucets and stuff like that, you just saw these over. There's a lot more technology that's coming out in bidet toilets. I mean, one of the things they said, you know, they could be hooked up warm water. Like I said, they're just kind of that touch of luxury that was overwhelmingly popular. I don't know how many bidet toilets I saw down there, but it was a lot. And then this has basically been a trend that's been going on for a while, but we've seen a lot of solid surface type applications. I mean, either in the backsplash of the kitchen or in the shower and stuff like that. This year we saw lots of very, very large, like 48-inch or larger tiles. The overall impression here is a lot of buyers are not necessarily wanting grout. And last year they kind of talked about grout is out now. Younger people don't seem to really like cleaning it. It seems to be kind of hard to keep up and stuff like that. So either a solid surface or a very large tile was popular this year to eliminate the grout. And then the shower niche was all over the place. And I would say that this is definitely becoming a feature in a very much lower price point. And again, as far as you're trying to keep the home nice and neat and clean and stuff like that, we saw, like I said, lots of showers where they put these niches in. And we've traditionally only seen these really in the luxury market. And it seems to be working its way down into lower price points. And then this one was another award winner, and it's the hammock tub. And so what it basically feels like, I was unable to get into it whenever I was there, but it basically feels like sitting in a hammock, and I have another picture of it here. It was actually just attached to the walls. Was a very popular thing. Like I said, kind of award winner. And one of the things whenever they talked about this is the tub is still popular, but something that's definitely moved out is the jets. Nobody wants jetted tubs anymore. Everybody just really wants soaking tubs. And we saw, like I said, specifically when you're talking about that really nice primary suite and stuff like that, that typically would have a tub in it. And then when you got down into the junior suite, that one would more only have a shower type installation in it. And then as far as the wellness goes, cold plunges are very in. I've never done this before, but again, every booth that we went into, they had some kind of home application for a cold plunge. It's very apparently healthy for you to do these cold plunges. And what they said here was, now that we've kind of moved out of COVID, people are starting to install things in their homes that they couldn't necessarily get during COVID. So it was that kind of like a hot tub type situation, a cold plunge. They also said the sauna is starting to come back. It was typically only one item though. It wasn't like they had a home spa in there. But a lot of homes, specifically maybe what the owner really enjoys, whether they enjoy getting in the sauna and stuff like that. People are now wanting that in their home a lot more. On the luxury end, I would say a lot of things that we saw was there people were maybe putting in like barber's chairs or manicure stations and stuff like that, where whatever it was that they couldn't get during COVID and kind of like the health and wellness, they're now having that put inside their home. And then this was a new idea. We kind of saw it the other day when we were out in Westland, Kelly and I were, but it's the foyer or entryway dry bar. So we've had kind of these bars for a while. I mean, there for a long time, it was the wine station, you know, the last couple of years, it's been the whiskey station and stuff like that. And they've always kind of been an offshoot of the kitchen and stuff like that. Now they're putting these dry bars in the entryway. What they have said is people that like to entertain a lot, you know, as people kind of walk in the front door and stuff like that, you can just hand them, you know, their drink right there. And one of the things I would say that was overwhelming, is, as you guys are all kind of giggling about that, is they're not calling them wine bars anymore, whiskey bars. They're not really labeling that. They're more like beverage stations. They didn't have, like I said, a sink in them and stuff like that. The other thing was they said it keeps people out of the chef's triangle and stuff like that. So if you're handing them their beverages, they walk in the house, that's out of the kitchen area and some of the main areas. And not sure this one's going to catch on, but like I said, we saw lots of kind of cool applications of this one. And then not surprisingly, the white oak cabinets are very popular. We saw this mixed in a lot with a lot of white cabinets as well, kind of like I said, mixed in with a white oak. And then there was some blue and green applications that we saw, kind of deep blue and greens. And then metal cabinets were really popular this year. And we primarily kind of saw them like this, where they were on the uppers, lots of glass in them. Some of them had just kind of like some metal, covers on them and stuff like that, that you could typically see into them, but not sometimes completely like these glass applications are. And then I would say this year it's definitely pulls and not knobs. So as we were kind of going through the hardware, you didn't see necessarily so many knobs going on cabinetry. And then I've seen this application here in Portland before in the bathroom, but I've never seen it in the kitchen before. And so they have these new 2-person sinks that go in the kitchen, and they just have kind of one very long trough. And instead of putting 2 sinks in different areas, people can kind of stand side by side from each other in the kitchen and work together. And then we were out at a house the other day in Sherwood, and they had a brand new house and they had installed this. So this is kind of a product that helps you maximize your countertop space. And these sinks just have little levers on the edges of them that you can kind of pop down in these different applications. Like I said, if you've got a small kitchen, this will help you convert your sink into different working area. And then this came out last year, but it's still gaining a lot of popularity, this under counter induction. So if you guys have used the induction range tops, basically the way they work is when they connect to metal, that's what creates the heat. So now they're putting the induction pads underneath the countertop. And so you just go ahead and set your pots right on top of the countertop. And you see here, it's got a little drawer there that you pull it out and you can turn on the range top. Again, this is a big space saver if you've got very limited countertop space. And then lots and lots of like under counter charging. This is not a new one as well. But they're kind of taking it in, they're hoping to kind of take it into a new idea. So this was a kind of like a cell phone type technology. And what they have now is when the cell phone actually gets close to the charging station, there'll be a little light that will pop on where you know exactly where to set down the phone and stuff like that. But this full under counter charging technology, they believe is going to go into the appliance mode. So these are appliances that have already come out. They are cordless, but you actually charge them with a little electric cord. What the thinking is that there's going to be these under counter power supplies, and you will just basically take your mixer out of the cabinet and set it down on the countertop, and it will get its charge that way, rather than having cords on appliances anymore. So we'll see if that comes into play or not. And then I would say we saw lots of different organizational, and this kind of was spreading into different markets. On the upper end, I saw a lot more of it than I did on the lower end, but we still saw some applications there. They're inside the cabinetry were kind of these built-in organizers rather than just leaving them aftermarket type applications. Basically to be able to store anything. Like I said, if you want that perfect kitchen, these obviously help a lot in keeping you a little bit more organized. And then the one luxury feature that I saw going into homes, if you were kind of on the higher end, were these built-in ice makers. So they just added that nice touch of luxury. The other thing is that really frees up a lot of space in your refrigerator, freezer type situation if you've got one of these built-in ice makers. They also make a lot more ice typically than you will with some kind of refrigerated type system. And then the most popular color for appliances was this black matte. We're kind of moving out of the stainless steel era, and it wasn't kind of your traditional black. It's very much what you see in new cars today, where they kind of add this matted look to it. We saw this both with brass and stainless steel hardware on it. And then they basically told us that taller refrigerators are coming soon. This idea comes out of as we're getting these taller and taller ceilings, some of these shorter refrigerators kind of look a little odd, like kind of how this picture where there's lots of space between the refrigerator and the ceiling. And so we're saying is coming down the line, you're probably going to see skinnier but taller refrigerators. And then as we were talking about the robotics and how you can integrate those in. So one of the products that they brought up was, and this is actually already on the market, it's a robotic mop. And so the new ones are actually able to connect into the water source of the home, and they're also able to drain themselves. Already on the market. So a lot of people that are buying these right now in existing older construction are, for some reason, putting them right by the toilet, because that enables the dirty water to come right out and drain directly in the toilet. So the builders there were talking about, wouldn't it be great if we just took the kick plate out from underneath the kitchen sink and you were able to put this robot right underneath the kitchen sink. And so when you wanted to mop your kitchen, you just open the cabinet doors from underneath the sink and the robot would work its way out and work its way through the whatever you were trying to mop and stuff like that. And then it goes back in and it cleans, it basically drains itself and adds clean water and stuff like that. So that's how they're trying to take these robots and find kind of places for them, like specifically the Rumbas and stuff like that, little niche or something like that where you can store these things where you're not using them. The scullery kitchen has been very, very popular over the last couple of years. What we saw this year was it's definitely starting to work its way down into the lower price points. And if you want a super clean, clutter-free kitchen, you have to have a scullery kitchen to make that happen. If you're not familiar with these are just little kind of almost like a pantry off of the kitchen and stuff like that, but they will oftentimes have a second sink in there or something where you can kind of bake things, juicing stations, things that are really messy that you may not necessarily want to do in your main kitchen. This one of the things I would say is a lot of these filler kitchens are kind of hid by the Murphy door. So you don't even notice that they're there. They have some kind of door system on them. It's kind of like a hidden type door. And then laundry room luxury. I'm seeing this more so. This was actually a picture that I took directly off the floor. We're starting to see, and I've seen this on a couple different houses, where instead of those washer and dryer risers that you see that you can kind of buy in Lowe's or something like that, a lot of people are putting more custom cabinetry there, give it a much cleaner look, and then lots of storage. The other thing you've got up here is you've kind of got a lidded shelf and stuff like that. So where this is kind of coming out of, they've said as people move into these new homes, one of the things that's not very luxurious typically is a laundry room in an apartment. Oftentimes it's just that little closet. You have a washer and dryer. So buyers that are coming out, younger buyers and stuff like that, they are looking for some luxury in the laundry room. And they did definitely suggest that builders spend a little bit more and make it a little bit more high end in the laundry room. And then one thing that is really coming on strong, very popular, are these dog rooms. I would say we didn't see very many of them that were exclusively dog rooms. But down there, they talked a lot about there were 3 things that you needed inside of a dog room. So some of them had dual of either it was the laundry room and the dog room, or it was kind of like a mud room or something like that. But buyers are overwhelmingly wanting somewhere to be able to put a dog when they're at work or something like that, and not necessarily wanting it to run all over the whole house, or even whenever they have company or something like that. So if you're putting in a dog room, and one of these I didn't see happening because it's a kind of an expensive idea, but this is what people want. They definitely want a built-in dog cage like you have here. So the cabinetry, instead of those again those aftermarket type dog cages and stuff like that. They kind of want these specific spots that the dog can go in, built into the system, and then it also has to have a little doggy door. This is one that has technology that it raises and lowers. This is the one that to me, it sounds very, very expensive, but like I said, people say that they want this. They want actually a separate HVAC system for the dog room, again, to keep the dog smells, the dander and all that kind of stuff from filtering inside the house. The other thing I would say is we are seeing some very high end. I think maybe more on the lesser end that I've seen a little bit is the Dutch doors, where you can kind of open that up and make the dog a little bit more interacting with the people that are in there without still having them necessarily in the main house. But the dog rooms were super popular. As far as technology goes, these electric fireplaces have come a long way. Got lots of builders in Portland that are starting to install these. You know, one of the things that's nice about them is you can have them on and that they don't, unless you have the heat function on them, they don't actually produce any heat. So you can have them on in the summertime and stuff like that. And they look very realistic nowadays. The bunk rooms, again, continuing popularity. Primarily one of the reasons here, if you're limited on bedrooms and limited on space, these built-in bunk rooms can offer a lot more options for being able to, house a lot more people. They seem to be very, very popular in people that have mixed families. So if you have a spouse that has 2 kids from a previous marriage, 2 kids from the other side and stuff like that, as you're kind of integrating these kids in and maybe they don't live with you all the time, how do you really limit the bedrooms? They'll give them their own space. So bunk rooms seem to be solving that problem. And then I had never heard of this before, but as I've given these classes, a lot of people have heard of this idea. Talked a lot about color drenching. And all that really is for a builder is that the ceiling and the walls are painted the same color. So this whole idea it's supposed to add a lot of serenity, calmness and stuff like that if you're not having different colors on the walls and the ceiling. And then as they kind of take it into decorating, it typically means that the furniture and a lot of the other accessories are in that same color. It's a very monotone, very clean, all one color type application. Like I said, it's supposed to be very calming. And then this is one of my last ones. I always kind of highlight the color of the year. They vote on it while we're down there and stuff like that. And this year it was a mocha mousse color. It was kind of like a brownish color. I will say some of the runners up were kind of in the blue tones, and green was very, very popular this year as well. And then lastly, we just have a program called Fidelity Prospector. As Kelly talked a lot, I worked with a lot of builders. I actually kind of helped design this and get it up and running. What it is it's a GIS system. It works very much like Portland Maps, but it allows you to go in and basically say you want a specific kind of zoning, you want acreage, you want it in a certain area, you don't want a lot of topography, you don't want a lot of wetlands, stuff like that. And it will filter through the public tax records and find these properties that match your criteria. It's not linked to RMLS or anything like that. So it just clearly will find the development sites that are out there and available, but not necessarily for sale. And that's really all I have for you guys. I'm happy to chat about the show or take any questions that you might have, or things that you guys are hearing about that might be popular with your buyers and stuff.
What's with the glass front door? I hate those, and I feel like they're showing up everywhere.
Glass front doors were very, very popular. Again, it's getting more glazing, getting more light inside the home. And so oftentimes if you have like a foyer or entryway, that usually has very little light that's able to get in there. So not only did we see the glass front door, but also the casing that went all the way around it, lots and lots of glass. And so I think that smart glass technology might be able to help people. Because it is kind of intimidating when.
It's unsafe. As a woman, I'm like, has anyone else been broken into? Okay.
It's all about letting more life into the home. Yeah, that's a really popular
How
design.
expensive is that smart glass technology?
They, I can't remember the size of the window, but they said it was $1,000 to have. It was a fairly large window, like maybe like half of one of those or something like that. And they told us to do that application was $1,000. Yeah, so it's not cheap. Yeah, so.
Questions for Carrie?
And what causes the swing? Like, I know 20 years ago, or actually 30 years ago, Goodall, my wife grew up there. She said, we walked down Goodall and it was full of stabbing cabins, she called them. And now it's all, $2, $3, $4 million houses. And I've noticed down in, my mother-in-law loves to go down and see the peacocks down in Lake Grove here. And down in that area, I mean, they are building some humongous homes down. What is it? Just availability of lot? I mean, they're obviously buying old houses, scraping them, and building these monster homes down.
Well, like over in the north areas, I mean, some of that sometimes has to do with zoning. So, like when you have a zoning that will require a very large lot size because of the price of land and stuff like that. Oftentimes, if you're getting into if for instance, like you've got to have a 20,000 square foot lot or something like that, the only thing that really can oftentimes pencil out is a very large, luxurious type home on that. So again, that's when we were talking a little bit about how we're moving to townhome type style lots and stuff like that. The smaller lots are less expensive, and so therefore the house that typically gets built on them are less expensive. But if you have zoning that only allows for very large lot sizes, you're typically going to see that neighborhood be developed more on the upper end of. Great question. Yes, sir.
Yeah, like homes I'm seeing in standing showers, like there's like a glass panel that doesn't cover the whole shower.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm starting to see those in hotels too. So what's the reasoning for that?
That's actually a European idea that came. I mean, it's been around for a while. It's if you have a fixed panel, it's one of these is it's cheaper to install than the moving door and stuff like that. It's kind of both hip European idea and cost savings, all three combined into one. My mother hates those things.
Get the hallway.
Yeah. She's like, what? They can't afford the whole shower door here. What's going on? But it is cheaper to install those. So.
Well, keeping in mind that most Europeans use a handheld, it's a very different showering experience in Europe.
And they love the bidets over there too, but the true bidets, not the bidet toilets so much. Yeah. So difference.
Well, give a round of applause for. Find it like it's the one I look forward to probably the most, just because knowing where the trends are going and everything else is awesome. I got to get a paintball monitor.
I'll have to take you down there with me.
I would love to go.
Gambling and stuff.
Reminder: this coming Tuesday, we have our dog walking event. Right, Lindsay? We still have a couple spaces.
No, we're full. So thank you to everybody who signed up. I'm going to send you a waiver to sign, and those of you who are here now, I'm going to just move it.
Okay, so awesome. That should be a lot of fun. And I think that is it. Kelly, did we have CE for this?
You do. You'll get your CE for this.
Okay, so we should get CE for this too. And go forth. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Right? Okay.
I love it. I do want to go down. Actually, after you came back, I went onto their website.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's rough.
You've got to go. I like it.
Pretty busy.
Yeah, stuff. Beautiful.